everybody, it's Lisa and Nancy, and today we're here at Fort Churchill, and actually right inside Buckland Station, near Yerington, Nevada. So this is part of the Pony Express Trail, also part of the California National Historic Trail, the Emigrant Trail, the Overland Trail. This is like the crossroads of Nevada. So we're in the northwest region of Nevada, and this is part of our Love Your Parks tour. And you know what, there's always a reason to come back to a place, and this is our third time in Yerington, Nevada. But we're not in Yerington, we're like 20 minutes or something out. And today we're back with Kristin Sanderson, and she took us all around today. Once again, this is our third time with you.
Welcome back. It's great to have you back in the park.
Yeah, thank you. And the first time was in Fort Bowie National Historic Park in Arizona. So we just, keep coming back.
That's a good thing.
I know, I emailed her, I said, do you remember us? And she's like, yes.
Of course, how could I forget?
So, Fort Churchill, if you could give everyone a quick overview about what Fort Churchill, because there's history, but today we're going to talk about nature as well, the nature trail, because we have to do our 1-hour walks, which we did a little bit more of today. But Fort Churchill really wasn't that, which came first, Fort Churchill or Buckland Station?
Fort Churchill. Well, technically Samuel Buckland.
Oh, well, okay.
It's a pretty interwoven history here, but Fort Churchill is probably more well-known than Buckland Station. Fort Churchill was a Civil War-era frontier fort built in 1860 as a result of the Pyramid Lake War, which was a series of 2 battles between the Northern Paiute Indians and joint local militia and U.S. Army forces. And immediately after the Pyramid Lake War, they established Fort Churchill. And the purpose of the fort was to protect both the communication and transportation corridors through the area. As you alluded to, we had a well-established wagon route through this area. That was the California Trail. That was the same route that the Pony Express would follow, and the telegraph.
Okay.
So the purpose of the fort was to protect that infrastructure. It was fairly short-lived, was in operation for only 9 years. Lots had happened during that time. Civil War had come and gone. Nevada had gone from territory to state of Nevada, and the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, which made Fort Churchill pretty much useless at that point. And so the U.S. Army abandoned the site in 1869.
Wow. Okay, so now it's part of the state park system here, right? So you've got Buckland Station you can visit and tour, and then you've also got the fort, the ruins of the fort that you can visit. Today we did the nature trail, which is something we wanted to do the first time we came here. And it was beautiful. So it really goes along the Carson River.
It does. It parallels the Carson River between historic Buckland Station and Fort Churchill State Historic Park. And it's a little bit deceptive. Buckland Station is not separate from Fort Churchill. It's part of Fort Churchill State Historic Park, but it's geographically removed from the ruins that make up the old U.S. Army fort. And so the nature trail, it travels between those sites along the Carson River for a distance of about 2.2 miles.
Okay, it's beautiful.
Oh, it really is pretty.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the birds that we saw today. And I know that you say that the 1st of January, you lead a hike of the first day of the year?
I do. First day hike has become quite popular throughout the country, and certainly has grown to be one of our most popular programs here at the park. But our first day hike, it utilizes the nature trail, and it's a great time of year for birding. The leaves are off the trees, so those birds are really silhouetted against the branches. And given that we are one of a few spots of water in our desert environment, it really attracts a diversity of not only birds, but other animals, mammals as well.
That's cool. So, do you see any bobcat or anything like that?
Never seen the actual animal. Have certainly seen evidence of things like mountain lion, bobcat, coyote. One spring, we did have a black bear that we believe was traveling up and down the Carson River. That was the final year of extreme drought conditions for us. It was about a 10-year drought period. And so a lot of the bear populations up around Lake Tahoe were incredibly stressed. And I imagine this bear followed the Carson River from the Sierra Nevada mountains and was just traveling up and down the Carson River. But that was a once-in-a-lifetime I think, opportunity experience here in the park. I don't know that it commonly happens.
Wow. And so, bird-wise, you were talking about that you have great horned owls that you can see?
We do. We have 6 different species of owl here in the park. Not all of them are seen regularly. The 2 most common are the great horned owl and the barn owl. And the great horned is probably the most commonly seen and certainly the most commonly heard. For many of our park visitors utilizing the campground, it's not uncommon to have them serenading you just about every night here.
That'd be so nice.
There was a lot of robins rocking out.
Yeah, lots of robins. Hopefully that means we have a lot of worms or insects for them to
soil
eat.
Then.
Right. Geese are commonly seen here. Occasionally the pelican that's en route to Lahontan Reservoir. We also, this time of year, get to see the Bullocks orioles. They are a migratory bird, and they create a pretty remarkable nest. It's a hanging nest. It's a woven nest that hangs from branches. They're a very colorful bird, predominantly yellow and black. It's very striking when you see them. Lots of flickers. You'll hear and see lots of flickers.
Quail.
We did see a lot of quail.
Woodpeckers. Yeah, these little flycatchery kind of birds. And you said that you saw a white-faced ibis out here the one day?
We did. Just about a week ago, our agricultural fields north of Buckland Station were flooded, and of course that water attracts a lot of waterfowl, and we had just a stunning combination of egrets and white-faced ibis.
That's so cool. That is cool. We saw vultures when we got here first thing in the morning, so it was I love vultures. I love to see them. But cool. The walk itself goes, like you say, it's parallel to the river, but you start off in an orchard that's in full bloom right now. It's apple trees, or what was that again?
Apple trees. We have, I think, 1 apricot, apple trees, and then a single black walnut.
Oh yeah, and she had those in Fort Louis too. She goes where the walnuts are.
Right.
But it's really neat because you see the old agricultural equipment. And here at Buckland Station, you have like the barn quilts that you painted out there.
Yes.
So this was, they did some farming out here.
They did. The Buckland family, they date back to 1858, at least Samuel does. He arrived in the area as early as 1858 as a bachelor. He was an Ohio native that originally came west with the discovery of gold. And after 7 years of unsuccessfully mining in California, he acquired 1,700 acres of land here on the Carson River, and he began raising cattle. That was his primary business. But he was a very enterprising man and certainly figured out how to make himself an invaluable part of the community that grew up here more than 150 years ago. He would eventually meet and marry his wife, Eliza, and they had their hands in all sorts of businesses in this area. They operated a boarding house, a trading post. They were known for their prolific gardens, so selling produce to the soldiers at Fort Churchill.
Wow.
Sam,
I was going to say that I wonder if they used to walk where we did to get up to the fort. That was a corridor for humans back then.
I imagine water has attracted people for thousands of years, and we have some accounts that suggest the Bucklands harvested ice off the river, so it is very possible that they were walking the same soil, the same route that we were following today.
And it's really pretty. The plant life is really cool. We had wild roses on the trail, those little white flowers too on the ground. I don't know what they were. Little, looked like baby's breath. It was really pretty.
Oh, yes, I haven't identified those yet. I'm still learning.
Yeah, but you showed there was milkweed out there.
Milkweed.
And then, so these are all cottonwoods that we were walking
Predominantly under. Fremont cottonwood is what you find lining the banks. And an interesting fact, this is the densest cottonwood forest in the state of Nevada, this stretch of the river between Fort Churchill and Lahontan.
No way.
It is.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. Nice. Yeah, no wonder you get a lot of bird life. Whenever I see trees and that new green, spring, I'm like, there's birds down there. I know there are. Yeah. And so we also looked at plants. There was mallow in bloom. We got up to the ruins area where you can go to the fort. So that's another 1 hour walk if you want to do that. But we saw what you called Indian rice, which is a grass.
It is, and more specifically Nevada state grass, Indian rice grass. It's a pretty, it's an easy to miss plant, I should say. It grows fairly low to the ground. It's not real large or bushy, and most of the year, it's the same color as our desert environment. So sort of a sandy, maybe off-white color, very muted color, so easily overlooked. But it was incredibly valuable for some of the Native American groups in the area who would harvest these minuscule seeds and grind them for flour.
Wow, that's a lot of work. When you think about that, I mean, that's a lot of work.
Get so many of them.
I know. It's
just to make a tablespoon of flour.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you will eat your dinner.
Yeah.
You will eat your dinner. You didn't grind it all. You got to eat it. But the plants are really neat because you also have the sage, which Nevada is really, known for, that beautiful sage, that color. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful walk. We also, just getting into the flora and fauna a little bit more, we saw all kinds of lizards. One you said was a spiny one?
Spiny lizard and western fence lizard are probably some of the more common species.
We saw gopher snakes.
We saw 2 gopher snakes, both of them fairly small.
They look like babies. They probably,
didn't have real distinct patterning yet, and just in terms of length, we're on the smaller side.
And you were saying that gopher snakes, number one, these are good to have around, and so don't they you said they mimic the rattlesnake?
They do. They mimic rattlesnakes when they feel threatened. They flatten their head into more of that triangle or spade shape that a rattlesnake is known for, and they oftentimes will wiggle their tail in loose vegetation to mimic that rattling sound that a rattlesnake makes.
Will they go after a rattlesnake like a king snake?
Yes, they are one of the few natural predators of the Great Basin rattlesnake here in this area. Plus, they do a tremendous amount to help keep our rodent population in check here.
So they're good things.
They are.
Yeah. So that's the thing, we would talk about trails and snakes. People get a little scared sometimes. So tips about snakes and taking a trail, just kind of keep your eyes open and don't mess with them.
Absolutely. I tell our visitors to make sure you're using all your senses when you're exploring Fort Churchill. We take in a lot of information using our eyes, but our other senses can be of great benefit. Specifically here in the Great Basin Desert, our nose. You can smell that big sagebrush oftentimes before you see it. You can also hear birds. You can hear if there's a rattlesnake on the trail, their first line of defense is to rattle. So you're probably going to hear that rattle before you see the snake. So it's really important to engage more than just your eyes when exploring the fort. But I also encourage visitors to stay on designated trails. That helps to protect them as well as our resources here. I encourage visitors to wear long pants, and I know for many that's uncomfortable in the summer, but it really does help to protect you from things like snakes. But also a lot of our vegetation here has stickers or spines or prickles, and long pants just help to protect your legs.
And take water.
Take plenty of water, more than you think you need. A lot of our visitors wait until they're thirsty, and they've waited too long.
Yeah.
So
I almost forgot my water. I had to go back to the car before we left, and I'm like, I'm really glad I took my water.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's just a little nature trail, and it is, but it's beautiful, and but you're gonna
warm.
it does warm up. So I'd say go early in the morning or end of day, right, to the best time.
Usually, yes. Most of our animals here are active at dawn and dusk. And so that's an ideal time to see wildlife. It's also just cooler and more enjoyable, I find.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, you can find out more about Fort Churchill and also about Buckland Station. Of course, we covered on nationalparktraveling.com. We've got stories and videos there. But also go on the Nevada State Park website, and also you have a Facebook page that you've got videos on there, all kinds of, you keep us up to date with wildlife sightings and all kinds of good stuff. So is that the best place for people?
I try, yes. And for the most up-to-date information on the park, our social media, our Facebook page is the best resource, but also Nevada State Parks can help inspire your visits to any number of our great state parks.
Actually, just saying that, there's La Junta.
La Junta State Recreation Area is just up the road from Fort Churchill.
Okay, and that's a birding destination as well?
It is. It's an important part of the migratory path.
Okay.
And it's a recreation area, so it's a different type of recreation that you'll find there. There's a lot of boating, there's a lot of dispersed camping, so it attracts a different type of visitor than Fort Churchill. Most of our visitors tend to have an interest in the cultural or natural history of this specific area, but a great place to see seasonal birds. And I've also seen probably more porcupine up around Lahontan than anywhere else in this
that's it. I'm
immediate
going.
area.
I'm going just to play with porcupines. All right, very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.